Daniel Brooks was actually supposed to come home on Friday. No one knew that his business trip had ended early, not his assistant, not the staff, and certainly not the young nanny who usually took care of his 8-month-old son, Leo. Daniel just wanted a quiet moment. 3 days of meetings were behind him. He longed for warmth, for Leo's laughter, for real life. As his car drove up the driveway of his large, pristine estate in Virginia, everything seemed as usual. But what awaited him inside would change everything. He opened the kitchen door, and froze. At the sink stood Grace, the new housemaid. Barely 24 years old, with copper-colored hair and a lavender uniform. She hadn't noticed him. Her full attention was on Leo, who was lying in a small baby tub at the sink, being bathed. Daniel's breath caught. What was she doing with his son? His first instinct was anger. No one was allowed to touch Leo without permission, and certainly not bathe him. Linda, the nanny, was on vacation, but that didn't mean Grace could step in. He had hired her to clean, not to take care of children. But before he could say anything, he heard something that sent a chill down his spine. Grace was singing, and it was the song. The lullaby his late wife had sung to Leo. The sound hit him like a stab. He pulled himself together and snapped at her. "What the hell are you doing?" Grace jumped, startled. Her hands shook as she explained that Leo had a fever, was crying, and she didn't know what else to do. Warm water would help, she thought. But Daniel didn't listen. He was hurt, angry, overwhelmed. He fired her. Immediately. With tears in her eyes, Grace gently wrapped Leo in a towel one last time before turning away and leaving. Without a word. But Daniel's anger didn't last long. In the suddenly quiet kitchen, he could only hear the dripping of the faucet. And something else spread inside him, doubt. He opened the baby monitor app. Leo was asleep, but his face was red, his breathing shallow. Daniel replayed the scene in his mind. How Grace had tested the water. How calm she was, how confident. This wasn't a coincidence. These were practiced movements. Upstairs, Grace packed her things. On her bag, she placed a photo, a boy in a wheelchair. Her brother Ben. He had died 3 years ago. Grace had dropped out of medical school to care for him after their parents' death, day and night. No one knew. No one asked a housemaid's story. She was about to go downstairs when a scream echoed through the house. A scream she knew all too well. Fever, pain, panic. Grace ran to the nursery, though she had already been fired. Leo lay in bed, drenched in sweat, burning hot, breathing too fast. "Please, no," whispered Grace, feeling his forehead. "Step away from him." Daniel stood in the doorway. But Grace didn't back down. "He's not well. His fever is higher. His breathing is breaking down." Daniel remained firm. "I've called the doctor." She shook her head. "There's no time. If this continues, he could have a febrile seizure." "How would you know that?" Daniel asked sharply. Grace slowly turned to him. Tears glistened in her eyes, but her voice was calm, steady. "Because I've seen it. My brother was sick. I cared for him. I recognized the signs. Please, don't let your pride harm your son." For a moment, every mask fell away. Daniel looked at his son, limp, feverish, in danger. Then he handed Leo over to Grace. "Do what you must." Grace didn't hesitate. She gave him electrolytes, cooled him down, stabilized his breathing, calmly, quickly, expertly. By the time the doctor arrived, Leo's condition had already improved. The doctor confirmed. Grace had prevented a febrile seizure. Later, Daniel found her outside. She wanted to leave, as instructed. But Daniel said only, "Don't go." Grace froze. He took a deep breath. "I was wrong. You saved my son. If you want to stay, it would be an honor. And if you want to go back to school, I'll pay for it." Grace could only nod. Tears ran down her cheeks. And so something new began. In the following months, the house grew warmer. Brighter. Livelier. Leo began to crawl, then walk, and Grace was always by his side. Daniel watched her, how she laughed, sang, kept the house in order, held Leo lovingly. He never wanted to fall in love again, but his heart had other plans. Grace finished her degree, and Daniel sat proudly in the front row. Yet afterward, she was unsure whether to stay. Maybe she wanted to work in a hospital. Daniel said quietly, "You can stay. As Leo's nanny, or maybe as more." She answered honestly, "I don't know yet." Daniel nodded. You're always welcome here. They didn't rush anything. It was a quiet, genuine love that grew slowly. One evening, a storm raged, and the power went out. Grace ran through the rain to help Leo. Daniel watched her, and this time said what he had felt for so long. I'm not afraid of baby colds. I'm afraid of losing you. Then he kissed her. From that moment on, they weren't a fairy tale, they were something better, a family that chose each day, every day, to be there for each other.